The dust settled in the Emperor's chambers, revealing a scene of controlled chaos. Imperial guards lay scattered across the ornate floor, their once pristine armor now scorched and dented. At the center of it all, the Emperor sat on his grand throne, his face a mask of disbelief and fear. Hack's small form darted between the legs of the Julius IX Marines as they secured the room. His eyes were fixed on the Emperor, the being who had been responsible for so much suffering across the galaxy. It was hard to believe that their impossible journey had led them here, to this moment. Captain Jeb stepped forward, his face streaked with grime, but his eyes burning with determination. "Your reign of tyranny ends here," he declared, his voice carrying the weight of countless worlds that had suffered under Imperial rule. The Emperor sneered, his composure cracking. "You think this changes anything? The Empire is eternal. You're nothing but." His words were cut short as Sergeant Vex stepped forward, her weapon raised. "In the name of every world you've oppressed, every life you've destroyed, I pronounce sentence." Hack's whiskers twitched as he realized what was about to happen. He had seen death before, in the races and in battle, but this was different. This was justice. The shot rang out, echoing through the chamber. The Emperor slumped in his throne, the architect of galactic oppression brought low by a single blast. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, a Marine called out, "Captain, the broadcast systems are still active. The whole galaxy just witnessed this." Jeb nodded grimly. "Good. Let them see. Let everyone know that the age of tyranny is over." As the reality of what they had just accomplished began to sink in, Hack felt a whirlwind of emotions. Relief, exhaustion, and a tentative hope for the future all swirled within him. He thought back to those first desperate races, when survival was their only goal. How far they had come, from condemned prisoners to the liberators of the galaxy. The irony wasn't lost on him. The Empire had intended the races to be a death sentence, but instead they had forged the very team that would bring about its downfall. Killian's gruff voice broke through Hack's reflections. "So, what now, Cap? We've taken down the biggest bad in the galaxy. Feels like we should be breaking out the victory cigars or something." Jeb shook his head, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth despite the gravity of the situation. "Not yet, old friend. Taking out the Emperor was a huge step, but we've still got work to do. This galaxy won't liberate itself." As the team began to secure their position and assess their next moves, Hack couldn't shake the feeling that while this was indeed a monumental victory, it was also just the beginning of a new chapter. The races that had defined their lives for so long were truly over now, but a new kind of race, one to rebuild and heal a fractured galaxy, was about to begin. The Imperial throne room, once a symbol of oppressive power, had been transformed into an impromptu command center. Hack scurried between makeshift workstations, his small form dwarfed by the grand architecture and the Julius IX Marines who now stood guard. Captain Jeb stood at the center of the room, his eyes fixed on a series of large holographic displays that had been hastily set up. Each screen showed a different sector of the galaxy, and the scenes unfolding were nothing short of extraordinary. "It's happening everywhere," Killian muttered, his gruff voice tinged with awe. "They're just giving up." Hack's whiskers twitched as he took in the incredible sight. Across the galaxy, Imperial forces were surrendering en masse. On world after world, Imperial flags were being lowered, replaced by the banners of local resistance movements or the symbol of the rebellion. On one screen, a massive Imperial dreadnought powered down its weapons systems, surrounded by a swarm of rebel ships. On another, the governor of a core world was publicly renouncing the Empire and pledging allegiance to the new galactic order. "I can't believe it," Hack squeaked, his eyes wide. "All those years of racing, of fighting. And now it's all coming to an end like this." Jeb placed a hand on Hack's shoulder, a gesture of comfort and camaraderie. "It's not just ending, old friend. It's beginning. Everything we've fought for, everything we've sacrificed, it's all led to this moment." As they watched, reports flooded in from across the stars. Imperial strongholds that had seemed impregnable mere hours ago were opening their doors to rebel forces. Prisoners were being freed, oppressive laws repealed, and long-suppressed cultures were re-emerging into the light. Captain Sergeant Vex called out, her voice filled with excitement. We're getting word from the Axis cluster. The entire sector has declared independence from the Empire. They're requesting to join the Alliance. Jeb nodded, a smile spreading across his face. Send word that they're welcome. Every world, every system that wants to join us, our doors are open. Act felt a swell of emotion as he realized the true scale of what they had accomplished. They had started this journey as condemned racers, fighting merely to survive another day. Now, they stood at the center of a galactic revolution, witnessing the birth of a new era. You know, Killian mused, a rare softness in his voice. I always thought that if we ever won, it'd be with a big space battle. Fleets clashing, planets burning. Not. This he gestured at the screens, showing peaceful surrenders and joyous celebrations. This is better, Hack said firmly. We've won without more bloodshed. That's something to be proud of. As the reports of surrenders and declarations of independence continued to pour in, Hack couldn't help but feel a sense of amazement. The races that had once been their entire world now seemed like a distant memory. They had transcended their roles as mere competitors and become the architects of galactic freedom. The Empire, which had once seemed as vast and immovable as the cosmos itself, was crumbling before their eyes, and in its place, something new and hopeful was beginning to take shape. Hack knew that there would be challenges ahead. Rebuilding a galaxy wasn't going to be easy. But as he looked around at his crewmates, his family, he felt a surge of confidence. As the team continued to monitor the cascade of Imperial surrenders across the galaxy, a priority alert chimed from one of the communication consoles. Hack's ears perked up, recognizing the unique signature of a transmission from Julius 9. Captain Hack called out, his whiskers twitching with excitement, incoming transmission from Grand Admiral Decker. Jeb nodded, a mix of pride and exhaustion evident on his face. Put him through, Hacked. Let's hear what the old man has to say. The largest holographic display flickered, and Admiral Decker's image materialized before them. The Admiral's usually stern face was split by an uncharacteristic grin, his eyes shining with barely contained emotion. Captain Sheets, crew of the Broken Promise, Decker began, his voice carrying a warmth they'd rarely heard before. I don't think I have the words to express what you've accomplished today. Against all odds, you've done the impossible. You've toppled an empire. A cheer went up from the assembled team, Marines and racers alike joining in the moment of triumph. Jeb raised a hand, quieting them as Decker continued. The reports we're getting from across the galaxy are nothing short of miraculous. Imperial forces surrendering en masse, oppressed worlds declaring independence, long-lost allies emerging from hiding to join our cause. And it's all because of what you've done today. Hack felt a swell of pride, remembering how far they'd come from those first desperate races. They'd started as prisoners, became unlikely heroes, and now stood as the liberators of the galaxy. Admiral Jeb said, his voice steady despite the emotion of the moment. We couldn't have done this without the support of Julius 9 and the entire Rebel Alliance. This victory belongs to all of us. Decker nodded appreciatively. Well said, Captain. But make no mistake, your team's actions were the catalyst for all of this. The Broken Promise has become a symbol of hope across the stars. As Decker spoke, Hack noticed something in the Admiral's tone, a hint of reservation that seemed out of place amidst the celebration. Sir Hack squeaked, unable to contain his curiosity. Is everything all right? You seem concerned about something. Decker's expression sobered slightly. Sharp as ever, Hacked. You're right, there is something we need to discuss. He paused, choosing his words carefully. While this is indeed a momentous victory, and the war is nearly over, I'm afraid our work isn't quite done yet. Jeb's eyes narrowed, picking up on the Admiral's tone. What do you mean by nearly, sir? What aren't you telling us? Decker sighed, the weight of command evident in his bearing. What I'm about to tell you is crucial. The war may be nearly won, but there are still challenges ahead. Challenges that could threaten everything we've fought for if we're not prepared. As the Admiral began to explain, Hack felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. They had achieved the impossible, but it seemed their greatest test might still be ahead of them. Hack's whiskers twitched nervously as he processed Admiral Decker's words. The euphoria of victory was quickly being tempered by the realization that their fight wasn't entirely over. Admiral Hacked squeaked, his voice carrying a mix of curiosity and concern. "What exactly do you mean by nearly over? We've defeated the Emperor, and Imperial forces are surrendering across the galaxy. What more is there?" Decker's holographic image flickered slightly as he let out a heavy sigh. "While it's true that we've dealt a crushing blow to the Empire, there are still pockets of fierce resistance on several key worlds. Worlds that, if left unchecked, could potentially rally the remaining Imperial forces and undo everything we've accomplished." Jeb stepped forward, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Which worlds are we talking about, sir?" "The most concerning are Noveria Prime, Axis 9, and Helios Major," Decker replied. "These worlds house some of the Empire's most fanatical supporters and have significant military resources at their disposal. They're refusing to acknowledge the Emperor's defeat and are vowing to continue the fight." Killian let out a low whistle. "Those are some heavy hitters. Noveria Prime alone has enough firepower to give half the rebel fleet a run for its money." Hack's mind raced, recalling the strategic importance of each world mentioned. Noveria Prime was a major shipyard, Axis 9 controlled crucial hyperspace lanes, and Helios Major was rumored to house secret Imperial superweapons. "What's our plan of action?" Admiral Jeb asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Decker's expression hardened. "For now, we need you to secure your position on Buena Terra. The symbolism of holding the Imperial capital cannot be overstated, but be prepared for potential counterattacks. These holdout worlds may attempt to retake the capital and install a new emperor to rally around." Hacked felt a chill run down his spine at the thought. They had come so far, accomplished so much. The idea that it could all be undone was terrifying. Sir Hack piped up, an idea forming in his agile mind. "What if we could convince these worlds to surrender without further bloodshed? Maybe we could use our reputation, show them that if we could take down the Emperor himself, resistance is futile." Decker nodded appreciatively. "That's good thinking, Hacked. We're already working on diplomatic channels, but having the heroes of the rebellion make a direct appeal could be powerful. I'll have my team work on setting that up." As the conversation continued, outlining potential strategies and contingencies, Hacked couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Pride in what they had accomplished, anxiety about the challenges still ahead, and a deep resolve to see this through to the very end. They had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let victory slip through their fingers now. As Admiral Decker's hologram flickered out, the team sprang into action. The euphoria of victory quickly gave way to the practiced efficiency of a crew that had faced countless life-or-death situations. "All right, people," Jeb called out, his voice carrying the authority of a seasoned leader. "You heard the Admiral. We need to secure this palace. It's not just a building anymore, it's a symbol of our victory and the future we're fighting for." Hacked scurried across the ornate floor of the throne room, his small form darting between the legs of Julius 9 Marines as they set up defensive positions. His paws flew over a commandeered Imperial console, reprogramming security systems and sealing off potential entry points. Captain Hacked squeaked, his whiskers twitching as he processed the data streaming across his screen. "I've managed to access the palace's defensive grid. We've got shields, automated turrets, and a full sensor array at our disposal." Jeb nodded approvingly. "Good work, Hacked. Make sure those sensors are calibrated to detect any approaching threats, no matter how small." As the team worked to fortify their position, Killian's gruff voice cut through the controlled chaos. Cap? We might have a problem." All eyes turned to the weapons officer, who was hunched over a tactical display, his scarred face illuminated by the holographic readout. "What is it?" Killian, Jeb asked, moving to join him. Killian's expression was grim as he pointed to a cluster of red dots moving rapidly across the display. "Looks like we've got company, a sizable Imperial force, approaching fast from the south. Probably a loyalist unit that didn't get the surrender memo." Hacked felt his fur stand on end as he took in the tactical situation. The approaching force was significant, several squadrons of fighters escorting what looked like troop transports. "They're not here to talk," Sergeant Vex observed, her hand tightening on her weapon. "That's an assault force if I've ever seen one." Jeb's face hardened with determination. Then we'll give them a fight they won't forget. Hacked, get those defensive systems online. Killian, I want you coordinating our heavy weapons. Vex, position your Marines at key choke points throughout the palace. As the team rushed to prepare for the incoming attack, Hacked couldn't help but feel a surge of both fear and excitement. This was familiar territory for them, backs against the wall, facing impossible odds. It was, in many ways, just another race. But the stakes had never been higher. They're entering weapons range, Killian called out, his fingers dancing over the weapons controls. Permission to light him up, Cap. Jeb nodded grimly. Do it. Show them what happens when you mess with the crew of the Broken Promise. As the first shots were fired, illuminating the Buenos Terra sky with streaks of energy, Hacked realized that their greatest challenge might still lie ahead. They had toppled an empire, but now they had to defend the future they'd fought so hard to create. The palace shuddered under the first wave of enemy fire, and Hacked braced himself for what was to come. This wasn't just another battle. It was a fight for everything they'd accomplished, for the hope of a free galaxy. As the sounds of combat grew louder, Hacked exchanged determined looks with his crewmates. Whatever came through those palace doors, they would face it together. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.